My name is Elizabeth Brown, and I'm going to give a data overview for Blakely County Middle School. The purpose of the data overview is to help faculty and administration develop an understanding of our performance in relation to that of our district and state. This overview will also help us determine our areas of strength and the areas that need improvement. Our school improvement goals for the 2017-2018 school year are to improve student achievement in math and to improve student achievement in English language arts. When looking at 6th grade enrollment, there is a noticeable drop in the year 2015. So we're looking at 6th grade. From 2014 to 2015, there's a noticeable drop by about 20 points or 20 students. From 2015 to 2016, we go back up to 180 students, so almost leveling out for where we started in 2014. 7th grade enrollment increased from 2014 to 2015 from 173 to 185, but then took a decrease from 2015 to 2016. And according to the data, our 8th grade enrollment was at 180 students in 2014, and in 2015 we went to 170 students, so dropped by about 10 students, and then back up to 184 students in 2016. So it looks like we're all over the place, but these are different grades, 6th, 7th, and 8th. So we're about steady. There were 6% more females compared to males that attended BCMS in 2016-2017 school year. Here are some demographics over a 3-year span. All demographics enrolled at BCMS are consistent from 2014 to 2016, with a slight increase and decrease, but they pretty much would level out if you had a bar. This is interesting, our subgroups. So over here in our lighter blue are the economically disadvantaged. So we're increasing slightly every year. We're starting down here with 2014, 2015, 2016, and we're slightly increasing. Our students with disabilities are in the orange, and we are consistent from 2014 to 2015, but then we increase in 2016. Our gifted students increase from 14 to 15, and then decrease from 15 to 16. And from 2014 to 2016, you'll notice that BCMS doesn't serve any students with English as a second language. At BCMS, we have 49% of our teachers who obtain a master's degree. This is the highest category, as you can tell. The next highest is 29% of them that obtain a bachelor's degree. Now, of these 14 teachers that obtain a bachelor's degree, I know of at least 3 or 4 that are working towards their master's. The next would be that 22% of our teachers have a specialist degree, and 0% of our teachers have a doctorate degree. In 2017, we see that our teacher experience, we have 19 teachers who have 21 plus years of experience. One thing that's always interesting, and as a parent you kind of look at, is the student-teacher ratio. So when compared to the surrounding schools, we see that we have the lowest student-teacher ratio with a 14.7%. Not by much with Twiggs County, but they say that, student-teacher ratio, the lower the student-teacher ratio, the more individualized attention students get. For CCRPI single score compared to the other counties around us, we notice that Blakely scores higher in 2015 with an 81.8% compared to all these schools. Now, this dark blue right here and this maroon color are Blakely County and then Georgia. So you'll see that we score higher than these schools. We also score higher in 2016 with 80.6%, and also in 2017 with an 87.9%. So we dropped from 15 to 16 with our CCRPI score and then brought it back up in 2017. Percent of students scoring in each performance level for 2017 Georgia milestones. You'll notice that Blakely scores the highest in proficient, which is this orange color. We have a 34.7%. The next highest is Dodge with a 30.2%. And then our distinguished learners, we have a 23.1%, and the next highest is West Lawrence with an 18.3%. Now, the school that is scoring the highest in beginning is going to be Dublin with a 34.3%, and Dublin again for developing with a 49.8% compared to our beginning learners of 5.7% and 36.4% for developing. Percent of students scoring in each performance level for the English part of milestones. Here again, Blakely County is scoring the highest for proficient learners with a 38.6%. West Lawrence has a 35.2%. We are also scoring the highest in distinguished learners with a 12.1%, and then West Lawrence is right behind us again with a 6.2%. The school scoring the highest for beginning learners is going to be Dublin again with a 38%, and the school scoring the highest with developing learners is going to be Dublin also with a 42.7%. Compared to our developing learners, which is at a 35%. Reading at or above the grade level target for 8th grade, we notice that there are only 2 years that we exceeded the other schools. So in 2015, we had a 79.5%, and in 2017, we had a 75.3%. Now in 2016, Dodge County beat us with a 78.7%, while we were at a 75.6%. So, and it's even close in 2017, they scored a 74.1%. So. Sixth grade, 2014 through 2017, percent of students meeting standards in English language arts. So we obviously see this huge decrease, but don't forget this is CRCT compared to milestones. So I really start focusing right here with our 6th grade ELA. We increase by 4.5% from 15 to 16, and then decrease by 1 9/10% from 16 to 17. You will notice that we are beating the state's percent of students who met this standard for every year, and very close with our district, or the Blakely County itself. 6th grade, percent of students meeting standards in math for 2014 through 2017. We actually notice a great trend. This is the trend that you love to see. We're steadily increasing in 6th grade math, and we are consistently going above the Georgia percent of students that met standards as well. 7th grade ELA, percent of students meeting standards for 2014 through 2017. I want to point out that from 2015 to 2016, we increased by 5 5/10%, and then we had a slight decrease by 3 5/10% from 16 to 17. Notice, though, again, we are exceeding the Georgia percent of students who met the standards. 7th grade, 2014 through 2017, percent of students meeting standards in math. Here again, from 15 to 16, we see a great increase of 7.3% And then a significant decrease as well from 16 to 17 by 5.8%. So you're going to notice a trend with 7th grade ELA and 7th grade math. 8th grade ELA, we see a great trend, and that is that they are increasing each year. 8th grade percent of students meeting standards in math, we increased from 15 to 16 by 5.8%, and then we fall back down by 3.2%. Right, on this page we see the CRCT 6th, 7th, and 8th grade for 2014, and then we see the milestone comparison. So one thing that I want to point out is that the CRCT for English Language Arts, the grade that scored the lowest would have been 8th grade, down here with a 96.7%. The next thing I want to point out on this graph, it looks like a whole lot going on, but when we narrow in on something, we see that 7th grade so we see our 7th grade, which is here, here, and here. And you can kind of compare it just looking, and you see that 7th grade for 2015, 2016, and 2017 is the lowest for ELA. In 2015, 7th grade ended up with a 41.3% of students meeting standard, compared to 6th grade where they had 48.4% students meeting standard, and 8th grade where they had 45.7 students meeting standard. In 2016, here again, 7th grade has a 46.8% of students meeting standards compared to 6th grade who has 52.9 and 8th grade who had 51.4. And in 2017, we had 43.3% of students meeting standards in English Language Arts compared to 6th graders there were 51% meeting standards, and 8th grade there were 53.7. So 7th grade is going to be our area of concern because it falls below 6th and 8th for all three of those years in ELA. Now we're looking at the CRCT math for 6th, 7th, and 8th, and the milestones for 6th, 7th, and 8th. So we're looking from 2014 to 2017. When we look over here at the CRCT math in 2014, we notice that our lowest grade, or the lowest percent of students that met the standard, was in 7th grade. So we're just going to put a kind of a star next to that to kind of help us remember. Right, they were the lowest. Then we're going to come over here and we're going to look at and compare 2015. So 2015, our 6th grade scored or had 40.3% students meet. The 7th grade had 45.3%, and 8th grade had 59.1%. So 2015, our 6th grade scored the lowest. 2016, let's look at it. We had 51.2% students meet the standard in 6th grade, 52.6 in 7th, and 64.9 in 8th. So there again, 6th grade fell the lowest in 2016. And then 2017, our 6th grade brought it all the way up to 61.7% of students meeting the standard. And 7th grade unfortunately fell down to 46.8. And 8th grade fell, but still was higher than 7th grade at 61.7%. So 2017, our 7th grade fell below. So it looks like, is it 6th grade or 7th grade that we have an area of concern for in math? Well, let's take a closer look. So when we actually look at the 2017 data, go a little bit deeper. We begin to notice that our 7th grade is right here for our mathematics. So we're at 46.8%. So we are actually the lowest, the 7th grade, for math. And we are, unfortunately, 7th grade is the lowest for ELA as well, with a 43.3%. So you're going to see that 7th grade, ELA, and math are both a big area for improvement for us. I thought this was very interesting when comparing male against female in 2015-2016. So let's look right here at math for our 7th grade female. So 7th grade female math versus 7th grade male math. We notice that we score higher in proficient, which is great. That's where we want them to score higher. And we score lower in our distinguished. Females are also scoring higher in developing compared to males and beginning compared to males. So our ultimate goal is to get most of our students up here in proficient and distinguished. So want to move these over here. Now English and language arts, let's look at it next. So we're looking at English language arts, female versus male. So female, we're scoring higher again in beginning and also higher in developing and higher in proficient and distinguished. So they scored higher across the board. Now that's great that they're scoring higher in proficient and distinguished, but we really want to we don't want these two areas, developing or beginning, to be that high. We want to move them up to proficient and distinguished. 2015-2016 male versus female comparison, math and ELA for 8th grade. So we're looking at this, and I'm going to look at math first, male versus female. We see that we have a tie right here for our beginning. Looks like our males, we have more falling in developing. We have more falling in proficient, and we have more falling in distinguished. So still want to decrease these in developing, move them up into proficient. All right, English language arts. Got lots of males in the beginning, so this is definitely an area of concern. So this is a gap that we need to close. And also we have a lot more males in our developing for English language arts for 8th grade, and that's an area of concern as well. We don't want to have this many in beginning and developing, male or female. So, but right now it's males that we have an area of concern for. And then we're about equal. Oops, sorry, wrong one. We got more females and proficient and distinguished. So this would be my area of concern for this graph. Now, 8th grade African American students compared to white students in ELA. Let's take a look at this. So when I start looking at this, one area of concern is how high the beginning is We do go from 39.5% to 23.3% from 15 to 16, so we are closing that gap because you can see that they increase in proficient for our African Americans. So that is wonderful. What is not wonderful is that we are not increasing our distinguished learners in that area. And you can also see that this gets higher for developing. So we might have moved these to here. Next year we would like to move those to here and eventually these to here. So that's how we're going to keep closing this gap. An area of concern that I also see is that my English language arts white students, we had an increase in beginning, which is not where we want to see an increase. But we also had an increase in proficient. And then unfortunately we had a decrease from 14 to 10.6. So got to be careful with that. Want to keep them there when we get them there. All right, 8th grade African American students compared to white students in math. So let's look at this. What do we have going on here? We have African American students scoring at a 21.1 in 2015 for beginning, and we decreased that to 14%. So that's a good decrease. That's where we want to see a decrease. We also see a decrease in this area, which is good, developing. And it looks like we're doing great because we increase from here proficient into here proficient. That's wonderful. And we increase from 2.6 to 7 on distinguished. So looking like we're closing that gap. That's good. Those are good gains. One area of concern, again, right here is our whites for mathematics are going from a 3.3 to a 4.9, so don't want to increase in beginning. We did decrease in developing, which is wonderful. Unfortunately, we did decrease right here in proficient for white students. Great increase right here from 24 to 29.5 distinguished percent learners. So like again, main area of concern right here on this one as well. All right, some strengths that I would like to point out is that the 6th grade mathematics percent of students meeting standards has steadily increased and remains above the state's percent. We just want to focus on how we can continue to maintain and increase 6th grade students into this category, and also how can the 6th grade math teachers maybe help the other math grades. Another strength that we noticed is that the 8th grade English language arts percent of students meeting standards has steadily increased and remains above the state's percent of students meeting standards as well. Also, again, how can we continue to move 8th grade students into this category, and how can the 8th grade teachers help the other English language arts grades? Areas for improvement. Number of students with disabilities is slightly increasing, so we need to be able to ensure that their individual needs are being met. Our next task is we got to continue closing these achievement gaps in ELA and math that we're seeing. How can we use the skills we have developed and apply them to make ELA and math content accessible to all students and relatable to all of them as well? More students are falling into the economically disadvantaged category as we go across the years. How can we ensure that these students maintain a high level of school performance even if this is so? The percent of students meeting the standards in 7th grade math and ELA is decreasing, so this is not a trend that we want to happen. What can we attribute to this trend, and what are some suggestions to undo this trend and get it going in the other direction? These are some of my references that I was able to pull graphs from and all this information. Thank you for listening. Let me know if you have any suggestions.